Tap, 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 everyone.
Because everybody was stuck.
We're gonna get started. Thank you all for being here. This is the Hamilton County Solid Waste Policy Committee meeting, Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. We do a round robin generally, do we not? So we'll do a round robin to make sure everybody knows everybody in the room. So I'm Commissioner Denise Greenhouse.
Greg Kesterman, Health Commissioner.
Trustee Matt Waller, Corey Township.
Good, you know, like that.
That's her.
Okay. Mallory Garrison, generator, representative, the
Holly McSwiggan, public representative.
Sue Magnus, City of Cincinnati representative.
Michelle Ball, staff with Hamilton County Resource.
Mary from Baker, assistant solid waste manager with Hamilton County Resource.
Brad Johnson, Director of Hamilton County Environmental Services.
Ashley Nuff, environmental services.
Tom Turchiano with Rumpke Waste and Recycling.
Kevin Ty with Commissioner Dreehouse's office.
Dean Farrier with Rumpke.
Tony Stalbach, Hamilton County Resource.
Jack Mangan, Hamilton County Resource.
Sharon Moore, Hamilton County Resource.
Louise Earhart, Hamilton County Resource.
Nifong Chen, Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office.
Allie Coderdead, Hamilton County Environmental Services.
And Fear Flag, Butler County Solid Waste District.
Paul Brosh, Hamilton County resident.
Julia Marchese, Hamilton County resident, and Queen City Commons Cooperative.
Okay, great. Welcome, everybody, to our meeting. I'm going to, I assume everyone has had a chance to look at the minutes of the August 2025 session. I was not here for that meeting, so I'm going to let someone else make a motion and a second to approve of the minutes.
I'll motion to approve the minutes from August 2025. Policy Committee meeting is provided in the meeting packet.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We have some public comment today. We've got a couple folks in person and then we've got a couple folks online. So Paul Brush, who just introduced himself, please come forward. Got the pleasure of the floor for 3 minutes.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Some of the people I know here, some of them I don't. And so I don't know you, I don't know me. I was solid waste director for Adams and Clermont County Solid Waste District for 25 years. And before that, I was involved in writing solid waste plans for 15 counties in the state of Ohio, and Hamilton was one of them. So I'm somewhat familiar with your solid waste plan and the issues regarding solid waste districts. I was somewhat surprised and concerned to see your interest in raising out of district fees. And if you would do that, if you provided services with those fees to counties outside your district. And in the original solid waste planning process, we really, in the beginning, the concept was look at waste sheds. And they thought there'd be 6 solid waste districts in the state of Ohio. Well, because of the funding mechanism that was set up, it got into much smaller solid waste districts and it got smaller since. And so thinking of it as a regional approach is a great idea, and I would really applaud that. But if you tax the outside districts, outside your district, it really presents something that appears like taxation without representation. So if you're going to do that, you need to give them some input and also use that income to reduce the amount of material that's coming from those districts to your landfills. Now, see, that is a worthy thing, but to raise taxes on people who don't have an opportunity to have a vote at the ballot box to address that issue with you, I think is wrong. So that's all I have to say, and be glad to answer any questions that you do have.
Okay, well, thank you. We've got your information, so if we have if anybody has questions, I will make sure they have you the information to contact you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Julia. Is it Marchese?
Marchese.
Marchese, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Julia and I'm a co-founder of Queen City Commons Cooperative. We have been successfully operating a food scrap hauling service in Hamilton County since 2020. Using our custom dump truck purchased with the support of a Hamilton County resource grant, we collect residential and commercial food scraps. We have also had the honor to partner with the City of Cincinnati this year, implementing a USDA grant-funded residential drop-off program that is exponentially growing residential composting participation. And in addition to building up hauling infrastructure, we have also co-led the effort with many collaborators to fabricate a decentralized network of compost sites across Hamilton County. Every single pound of the 1.6 million pounds of food scraps that we've collected have been composted locally, primarily with just 6 farms. Farms present a really unique opportunity to serve as compost sites and are the primary reason that we were able to start our local hauling business. Every year, farms need quality compost to restore nutrients to their soils. Farms have an incentive to compost and to compost well. Compost enables plants to grow more abundantly, yielding more product from the same amount of land. Farmland is already zoned appropriately. Farms already have access to equipment and a base compost knowledge, and they end up with a product that they can use on site and that could also potentially serve as an additional revenue stream. Food scraps are actively degrading. They need a place to go. Any compost site could experience a variety of issues that delays or eliminates their ability to accept material, such as equipment failures, neighbor complaints, and permit problems. Even with the best of intentions, these are real possibilities. Not only would this compost site be delayed in processing, there would be more material sitting around and actively decaying, stinking, and creating a nuisance that could become an environmental problem and lead to complaints. A decentralized model provides resiliency to avoid system collapse. We saw with Compost Cincy how it all fell apart when the one site to rule them all failed. A decentralized model can much more easily absorb any disturbance of one site not being able to accept material for a day, for a week, or even forever. This is not just a hypothetical either, but something that we have seen ring true in practice. This model has been so successful that Queen City Commons now has farms lining up to get food scraps from us. This proof of concept exists, and the energy is there to continue to grow in this direction. Southwest Ohio is deeply agricultural with abundant access to farms. Our positioning in the nascent stages of envisioning organics processing gives us an incredible opportunity to build something beautiful, special, and actually resilient. A network that more deeply connects people to the land, soil, and food systems that we depend on to live, while also sustainably handling Hamilton County's diversion of organics from the landfills. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, now we're going to move to the folks online. The first in line is Carrie Davis. Pleasure of the floor for 3 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okie dokie. First off, I'd like to address the issue of the agenda item to raise the fees. I am in support of raising those fees to the maximum extent possible. In your meeting minutes that you just approved, I believe Ms. Balls is stating that they had insufficient income revenues coming in to cover their expenses. And we are not maximizing our monies, our ability to reduce waste going into the landfills because we don't have sufficient monies coming in. And so I believe we need to raise it to the maximum extent possible today. This issue's been discussed since, I think, 2022, and it's time that we make a strong position about waste coming into the county. In your solid waste plan, you state that you have 1 million tons of garbage going into the landfill from Hamilton County, and that we have 23 years of life left at that landfill. When in fact, according to the EPA, there is 2.5 million tons of garbage coming in into the landfill in total, which means we have not less than 10 years of life in Rumpke's landfill. And the only way we can reduce that amount and slow that end of life stage for Rumpke and the old style landfill is by having the funding to support the programs that are going to be effectively reducing the amount of waste. I take umbrage with Adams County's position that they have no say. Adams County, like all the other counties who are dumping their garbage on on Hamilton County. They each have their own obligation under the statutes to dispose of their own waste. I believe we should not only be charging them the $4, but we should be entering into an agreement with them where they compensate us more for taking on this responsibility that Adams County has in itself to take care of their own garbage. Additionally, it was released today that Rumpke just got a $55 million grant from the Ohio Air Quality funding. And it states specifically in there that they are going to be using that money to expand and increase the garbage going into Hamilton County. So I don't know where that number puts us. We're not at 23. We have at the most 10 years left in that landfill, and we need to take an aggressive action. Ms. Balls indicated in the solid waste plan that
Your time is up. The 3 minutes has passed. So thank you for your comments. We appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, our next speaker is Marie Kokocious.
Yes, hello. I am wanting to, I was shocked to hear Ms. Davis's proposal about only 10 years left. I knew several years ago it was 20 years left of landfill space in the state. And I think that's a pretty scary thing. But I do think that we need to move forward as quickly as possible with the organics. And I know that the consultant's report suggested 3 throughout the county. And I would like to propose, and ask that we move as quickly as possible to get these set up. There's, I don't need to repeat what the other folks have said about the value of food scraps and the fact that we need to get them out of our landfill so that we have a longer life for the landfill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marie. Our last speaker is Derek. I do not have a last name for Derek. Derek, you with us?
Yes, I am. How you doing, Ms. Treehouse, Commissioner?
I'm good. Please state your full name for the record, will you?
Well, in the public meeting, I don't have to, but I'll state it anyway. Okay?
Okay.
Derek Mays. I see you all the time. I live in Wyoming, and I always talk about your brother who lives right around the corner from me. Okay, so let me go ahead and ask my questions before I lose my 3 minutes. The first thing I'd like to do is share with you all, about 5 years ago, I requested a public records request on where the funding was going for projects. I did get that. Michelle and Brad were very helpful in providing that information. And it went back to 2010. So this time I'm going to request another public records request to see where the funding is actually being applied to. The last time, 5 years ago, there was not a lot of African Americans participating in the space. So I want to do a check to see how many African Americans are participating in this solid waste space. So if you all could put that down, public records request does not have to be in writing. So it's a verbal public records request. I just want to get that in before I lose all my time. The next thing I wanted to do was put in a second public records request. The county put out a RFI for information regarding funding they're going to apply for with the state of Ohio. So we would like to know who actually submitted information to be a candidate for partnering with the county. And we want to know who they selected for this funding. The reason we want to know this is because all the taxpayers are participating in the funding input, and we want to just make sure that all the taxpayers have an opportunity to be able to bid on, partner with, and collaborate. Now that the funding has left primarily from the federal government, it's going to be local funding that's going to have to make this happen. And so we're going to have to collaborate with people and not be non-transparent. So I want to just make sure that the group is transparent in what they're doing, because it doesn't appear to be that it is. Information doesn't come out pretty regularly. I was at the Food Waste Summit, and again, it was the same people that I always see, and there hasn't been any changes in the people who are attending these events. So it was a great event. I think Last Mile is doing a great job. But again, they're the same groups that are always at the meetings and always receiving the funding. So we need to expand this so we can have some new ideas, new ways. I think the folks that spoke earlier were sharing good information. That information needs to be shared with the community. Thank you very much, and I look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to the resource revenue updates and analysis.
Sure. So we have in attachment B, the tipping fee receipts comparing 2024 through September with 2025 through September. And overall, the funds are up about 1%. The in-district tonnage has increased by about 5% compared to last year. The out-of-district tonnage has decreased less than 1%, about half of a percentage, so 0.5%. And then the out-of-state has increased by about 5% since this time last year. Take any questions?
Any questions for Michelle?
It sounds like minor changes.
Okay, thank you. We're moving on to the policy.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Next on the agenda are the policy items for discussion. So we've got two things, the future of organics processing capacity, and then the solid waste fee increase. So Michelle, is item A the action plan? Okay, all right, so let's move forward with item A.
Okay. And I have a brief presentation just to go over some of the things. Amazing. We'll try to make it full screen. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to give a really brief presentation. You've seen the attachment. There's attachment C, which has some ideas on different ways to build organics capacity without actually building a facility from scratch if the policy committee decides to go that way. And then I'm going to go over some of the numbers that I put in here, update on the 2 demonstration sites, which will include an update on that RFI that was mentioned in the public comment. And then kind of a brief highlight of some of the action steps and then opening for discussion. I will say that I know that it feels like we've talked about this for a long time and it feels really hard. That this is a really hard problem to solve, but I have been thinking about this and working on this for over 20 years. And I feel more optimistic that we're going to find a solution and that we're going to actually make this happen than I ever have. So I know that it feels hard, but I think we're mucking through it and asking all the right questions and getting through it. So I do feel really positive about it. So just some numbers. So that this is in attachment C. These are the current diversion numbers. So every year we have to submit a report to Ohio EPA showing what our diversion are. We do surveys to commercial and industrial partners. These were the numbers that we reported in June of this year for 2024. So you can get kind of an idea of what we are currently diverting in the county, which I think I think we're doing great. That said, the study identified that we are still landfilling 138,000 tons of food scrap. So I think we're doing great, but I still think that there's, a lot of work to be done. But I do think, commercially and residentially, we're doing a lot with food rescue, animal feed. Industrially, I mean, I think that in the industry, so like food manufacturers have really got it down. I mean, they are really doing amazing work getting the material out of the landfill. So I think the commercial and residential is we have a ways to go, but I think we're still doing pretty good. So I just wanted to kind of put that into perspective that we are there is some diversion happening. So and then the yard trimmings, the 46,000 tons, that's mostly communities and then like landscapers.
I've got a quick question.
Sure.
What the food for industrial uses, is that like stuff going to like an air?
Yeah, and the AD or the making biofuels like
Okay.
out of Greece.
Okay.
Good.
Anything else there, Mary? Those are good things, yeah. And so I wanted to give an update on the compost demonstration site since the committee voted on that last time. The aerated static pile, if you remember that this is a partnership with Green Umbrella's Common Orchard Project. They are currently composting on land owned by the Board of County Commissioners in Camp Washington, right next to River City Correctional. And so we are working with them on doing site improvements to create a mini demonstration site for aerated static piles. They expect that once once that site is operating, that they're going to be able to increase the tonnage that they're able to take, just because the aerated static piles can move things more efficiently. And then we're doing site improvements too to make it a nicer place, so it's an actual demonstration site that would be nice for visitors. They expect to be able to take about 240 tons a year. So it's a mini demonstration site, certainly not, a huge solution, but it is a really great partnership. And then and so right now we're at the final phase of improving that. We think that we'll have a good draft of what project improvements we want to do. We've been keeping River City Correctional in the loop, but we're going to get final approval from them and then Hamilton County Facilities. So the plan is to get that in the next couple weeks. The Investle demonstration site, so we put out an RFI. It's a pretty quick turnaround with the Highway PA grants. They only give you about 2 months from announcing the grant to when they are due. So we have to make a quick RFI out there, but we did get 10 proposals from places interested, both private and public entities interested in siting an Investle. If you've never seen an Investle, it kind of looks like a storage or a shipping container with a big auger in it. It's really good for urban environments because it contains all the food scraps, right? So it's harder for rats and things to get in it. And it already has kind of the built-in aeration. It's really great for institutions that are creating their food scraps, that they can operate them on site. And so we had several large institutions interested. Xavier University was the one who was the most ready to go. They are going to operate the Investle composter. They're going to collect food scraps from their university food operations, but then also once they've got that down, they plan to expand to those coffee shops and things right immediately around the university. And so they're going to be our partner for the grant application, which is due December 5th. We have a draft to Ohio EPA. They will look at your draft application before it's due. And so we have that to them. I'm expecting comments, I'm hoping this week back so that we can finalize that and get it. So.
Can I, before you, sure, can I ask about any community engagement related to the site in Camp Washington?
You mean for any surrounding residents?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We certainly could do some. There's not too many people right around except for the people living in the River City Correctional, but well, there
was not.
But I mean, certainly we are keeping them in the loop as well, and they have some people from River City who are coming over, helping. So
no, I was thinking about as we think about, because we're going to be talking about expansion of trying to expand the capacity for organics in the community just in general, whether it's a small site, a medium site, a large site. And so just want to make sure that community engagement is top of mind as we do that, to make sure that they understand what's going on and there's buy-in there. So just wondering if there had been any community engagement related to that.
Not yet, but we had someone from Ohio EPA come down and they had a really good idea of not only having signage at the site for people visiting intentionally the demonstration site, but also have signage outside of the fence at both sites to where anyone who was just walking by would be able to see kind of what's going on there and kind of explain it. And certainly with the Camp Washington site, the Common Orchard Project has their lease through the Camp Washington Business District or Community Council, or I'm not sure what their title is. So we can certainly engage them as well.
Yeah, just it sounds like there is buy-in for that because it's already happening, but I just want to make sure that they're in the loop as we do the demonstration site. Yeah.
To the commissioner's point, the Camp Washington neighborhood council is small but very active. I've been to a couple of their meetings years ago, but they do meet on a regular basis. And the other thing I mentioned to you last week, I don't know if you had a chance to look at yet when we talked about Xavier, is what they're doing and what they have been doing for 30 years now at Earlham College in Richmond,
Yeah.
which that all their students, I used to take students there once a year for a Model UN conference, and all their college students and anybody visiting compost everything to the point where they're so well trained. This was 22 years ago when I first saw it. So they might have some knowledge and tips to share as well.
Thank you. Any other, okay, I'm sorry, we're interrupting the slide
That's great.
presentation.
So I'm gonna just hit on three of the items that are mentioned in the staff recommendations for actions. The first would be working with farms. So in Hamilton County, we have 322 farms covering over 18,000 acres. This was one of the recommendations from the Institute of Local Self-Reliance. It was partnering with farms and supporting them. So we, think that it's worth reaching out, and staff recommends that we issue an RFI specifically for partnerships with farms, with the goal of partnering with 5 farms in 2026. And the partnerships wouldn't just be grants, but they would also be technical assistance. We would hire a consultant to create professional site design for the farm so that the sites were designed correctly. We would send them to compost operator training. So it would be really a partnership hand in hand, walking them through the process. Some other things ideas that have come up is helping them to sell the finished product if they decide not to use it on the farm, or if they want to use part of it as selling it. So helping to create a cooperative with all of the farms to help market that. I think that there's a lot of potential there.
Michelle, for clarity, that's 500 tons per farm.
Per farm, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that is an average. It would just be up to the farmer how much they wanted
They
to
could
collect.
take, yeah.
Can I also stop you there and say, on this initiative, when it comes to these smaller farms, what is the goal?
The goal is to build capacity, so places like Queen City Commons will have more locations to eventually bring the food scraps.
What is the goal by way of tonnage?
2,500 tons. So if we were able to get 5 farms who were each going to take 500 tons of food scraps a year, that would be a 2,500 tons under capacity.
Understood, but what is the goal? So what, if we were to say, through this initiative, we would like to achieve in say 5 years, X number of tons, would it be 2,500 or would it be a number higher than that?
If we invested the amount that I put on here, which is just up for, a discussion, but if we invested $1 million a year and we were building 2,500 tons a year, in 4 years, you would have 10,000 tons. That's all hypothetical. And we don't have 4 million to put towards it, but that's.
Yeah, the other, the overall goal of how much food waste we have is 45,000 tons.
Yeah.
That's the real goal, 45,000 tons. So this is a really good step in the right direction, but a drop in the bucket.
So I will say the study, think that the study pointed out that we would be able to collect about 27,000 tons of food scraps. So from the commercial sector, about 21,000, and from and I put that in the attachment C, and that's like 60 something percent, and then the residential sector, we would be able to collect like 4,000 tons. So
5, but yeah,
was it 5?
because it is 4,800.
4,800,
Almost
yes.
4,900.
So totally, they estimated that realistically, we would be able to collect with all the collection programs eventually in place, 27,158 tons.
That's right. Thank you.
So just to clarify, the 45,000 I was talking about is the post-consumer number. That because originally, you say 138,000 tons of food scraps every year, but 30% approximately of that would be 45,000. So that's kind of where I was at for we need capacity for 45,000 tons for post-consumer food.
And I think the distinction there with the 27 is that the consultants looked at areas that already have the capacity built, what they were able to collect curbside. Like what, because even, like residentially, we're throwing away recyclables, right?
Yeah.
You can never capture 100% of what is actually generated.
Okay.
So you brought up the recyclable question, and that probably have been a possible way of knowing this. Maybe there's been studies done. Does increase in composting, is it related at all to increase in recyclables?
That's a great question. I've not seen any.
My hypothesis would be that it would bring more education to the issue and that recyclables would increase as well, but I have no data on which to base that.
I would think the same, but I don't.
Right, I don't have the data, but you're right, once somebody would acquire the behavior to compost,
Right.
they would want, then that it would transfer.
Yeah.
To recycle,
And even vice versa, so
Recycling.
if somebody's into recycling already, they have a better chance that they would be into composting too, so.
but one thing that's counterintuitive is that composting also makes people more wasteful of food waste. That they feel good about it, because, so they waste more.
Yeah, because they're like, we've got a place to go with this if I don't eat this.
Yeah, I don't have to, find
Yeah.
somebody to eat it, cause I can compost it.
Yeah.
So that, anyway, that's another discussion that, rescue that we want to invest into.
Okay,
So the second on there would be a food scrap collection subsidy. I don't often recommend that we subsidize really anything, but I think we have food rescue partners out there who are regularly being dumped on. They're receiving material that's inedible. They're providing a really important service for Hamilton County residents, and they have to deal with that material. So they are rescuing what they can. They are doing their mission to feed hungry people, but they often have material that is just not edible, or that they're processing it and there's scraps. So, one way that we could help support the food rescue operations while also helping build food scrap collection routes would be to subsidize the cost of that. I would recommend starting with that and just saying we're going to subsidize, whatever limited number of that is. And then we could expand to include a subsidy for other generators. Other generators who weren't food rescue partners, I would recommend putting a time limit on that. We did a pilot in Northside where we subsidized 50% of the cost for restaurants for a year. So we could do, or was it 6 months? I can't remember. We could do something like that where there would have a time limit on it for other generators. And then the third thing that we had was a grant program to support food rescue infrastructure. We have given out since 2019 over $400,000, almost $500,000 in grants to support food rescue. They've been very successful. And I showed in that attachment C how that kind of over time you're building and building and building, and so you're getting more and more diversion. So from that 2019 to present, we're seeing over 3,000 tons of food rescued every year because of those grants. So those were the big things that I wanted to point out, but I'm happy to answer any other questions.
okay. Any questions on any of them?
Impressive, the farm opportunity seems like a missed opportunity for us. Can really capture a lot of tonnage.
Okay, so are you gonna talk about the action plan in the context of this?
Sure, I can. So I have, so based on the attachment C, I put together kind of a action plan of what staff would recommend, actions that we take, using carryover funds to initiate an RFI for the agricultural partners for public-private partnerships in 2026 to implement a food scrap collection subsidy, and then also to issue a request for interest in expanding existing composting capacity and building new composting capacity in the region. The number 3 is a little bit more broad, and I think is worth discussing how that would be implemented. And then in the second quarter, issuing that large scale grant. for the food rescue, infrastructure. And then, and using the information that we gather, especially from number 1 and number 3, to inform a discussion on whether the fees, need to be increased to fund that.
So remind us what the carryover fees are, or I mean, the carryover balances.
We have about 2 million in spendable carryover funds, and of course it didn't that one. Ali's looking at me like I don't know. But there's about 2 million in spendable carryover funds. It's 4 point something million, but we have to keep that 8 months operating.
Reserve.
Yeah.
So there was a comment that we had, insufficient income to cover expenses. That's not quite true.
Yeah, cause I was projected for down the line.
2030 is when we were gonna dip below the 8 month.
Yeah.
And that was barely below the 8 month.
Yeah.
If you changed your goal to 45,000 tons rather than 2,500, how would that change the economics
You mean,
to get all the food waste?
oh, all of it.
I'm sorry, for number 1?
Yeah, for number 1, do 45,000 tons.
I don't believe that we will find farms willing to take on more than 500 tons of food scraps to begin with. So I think that we would have to build up to working to get, that capacity. I think it has to be built slowly. And so I don't think that it would be possible, especially in 1 year, to work with enough farms to build that capacity.
Are you thinking of a specific radius for number 1 or like within Hamilton?
I was thinking for the first year of focusing within Hamilton County, but I certainly agree that it's worth looking. I mean, if there are good opportunities outside of, with the USDA grant, we worked with Valley Food Foundation, which is outside of Hamilton County. We partnered with Adams Claremont Solid Waste District on that. So certainly it is, I would be open to considering it. It's awesome.
So how are these scraps get there?
Well, they would have to contract with a company like Queen City
Okay.
Commons or Compost Now, or Go Zero.
Is there any way to get like we have free drop-offs for bottles and cans everywhere? Is there, free drop-offs? Is it possible with some of these that we're subsidizing to get free drop-offs?
Yeah, so SWACO, our counterpart in Franklin County, has a program specifically to help communities set up food scrap drop-offs. And so I think, I don't think the farms are gonna be the most convenient place for people to drop off their food scraps, but certainly we could model a program, after what SWACO does to set up food scrap drop-offs in more convenient locations for people.
Well, and that's kind of what they're doing.
Because we've got a lot of programs going right now. It's just that I'm afraid that when, right now the model is it's free or really cheap, but those grants are gonna run out. And then I just wanna make sure people are, that there's a free option when those grants run out.
Yeah, I would say especially in low income areas.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that real quick though. So the reserve, this might be a question for you. Thank you for being here. Since I've been on this board, my recollection is we've always had a pretty substantial reserve. And so talk to us a little bit about that expectation. If we're gonna talk about funding these for more than a year or two, what is the expectation related to the reserve with the income we already have coming in? And what is the funding potential then for this program, say in the next 5 years?
Probably, I would, without the numbers in front of me and seeing it, my guess would probably be that, let's think about that, kind of if we're going with the plan that Michelle's talking about, then my projection probably would be that, we still have sufficient numbers. I just don't know, right offhand what, tonnage we need to do dollar wise to meet that. But we'd have to increase the fees to do that. That'd be something I'd have to pull together to find out exactly.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. So this action plan in the three different categories. The first one is for this farm partnership. I understand you're trying to start with 5, a reasonable amount of tonnage that they would agree to perhaps. And this is coming out of the reserve, right? So this is more of a grant program coming out of the reserve. Number 2 is related to food rescue, also coming out of the reserve, correct?
It would be because it is not currently in our 2026 budget, but we could put it in the budget for 2027.
Okay. And then item number 3, which is the larger one, which talks about an RFI to see if there were to be folks that are already doing this, collecting organics, asking or seeing if there's interest in them expanding upon what they're doing so that we can expand the amount of composting that we are doing as in a community, in addition to items 1 and 2, right? That one, depending on, we don't know what we would get through an RFI. There are folks, and I was actually encouraged by the presentation. There are folks already in this space. We don't know what the cost of this one would be. And so that's from my vantage point, I'm speaking only for myself. That one might necessitate a fee increase. And so, not knowing though what we're looking at. So that's my read of this action plan, that we have something we can do. Item 1, we have something we can do. Item 2, item 3, we can do it. We'll go out with the RFI, but then we have to take a closer look to see if that can be done within the finances that we have, or if we need to think about a funding source for that. Is that what we're at? Is that what we're looking at?
Don't we at least have some kind of baseline from what the siting study said? Cause it was like 14 million for a 6 to 8 acre urban, and I can't remember what it was for
It was
like
between
semi-urban.
7 and 14 million.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. So what I'm suggesting, I think is what is being suggested here, is that we don't go the route of finding a site, buying a site, building a facility, but
Yeah.
rather go to see what the response is from an RFI
Yeah.
and say, if there are folks already doing this in this community and they would be willing to expand their capacity, then maybe we don't have to do all of the above, but rather we can do this public-private partnership where we would have to incentivize
Yeah.
that, obviously, and help
Yeah.
them build out. That again, might necessitate a fee increase, but it would be a heck of a lot easier to capitalize on what's already going on
Yeah.
than recreate the wheel somewhere else. So that's my
Okay.
understanding of it. But I hear where you're coming
Yeah.
from too, because if the RFI were to say, nope, nobody's interested, we
Yeah.
have no intent to expand the capacity, then we have to rethink that.
Okay.
So in this number 1, looking from a farmer's point of view, this would be your 5 farms would each be 5-year grains or 9. Because I don't wanna commit to all this if I'm a farmer and find out after 1.5 years it didn't work and we're done.
Yeah, I do think we would have to have, I didn't think about as far as 5 years, I think we could probably do 3. I'm not sure what they would be willing to sign on for. I do think it will take time though. I mean, we've learned, especially from the USDA grant, that things come up that you weren't expecting. It's too wet to pour concrete or
Correct.
whatever the case may be. Things take longer than you think they're going to take. So I definitely would be more than a year. I'm just saying that we would start with 5 in 2026, but you're right, those relationships would extend over.
Yeah, cause if I'm on the other side of that, I would need some type of longer commitment to even entertain the idea. It's just what I'm thinking through.
So any other questions? Because what I would like to do, I hope everyone is in concurrence with this. We've been talking a lot about all these options, and I think Michelle needs some policy guidance from us as to how to move forward, take some action steps. And so I was hoping that this action plan could be that policy direction if we agree to what's here. So again, it's working with the farmers, doing that out of the reserve at the amounts and the tonnage that's on the sheet here. Doing more with the food rescue, which we've already done quite a bit, but accelerating that, and then going out with an RFI to see what the interest would be in expanding capacity for some of the current operators, see what we get back, and then make a decision as to what we get back. And Yeah, hopefully there's a lot of interest.
Yeah.
But if there's not, there's not, but if there is, okay, so what does that incentive look like? How much are we talking about? And do we have it, or do we need to, increase the fees in
Yeah.
some way?
Are we also supporting item number 4, which is the issue, food rescue infrastructure grant?
Would you talk about that?
Sure, so our current grant is the Waste Reduction Innovation Grant, it's up to 15,000. We have food rescue organizations apply for that all the time. But if we want to really impact food rescue organizations, I think that we would need larger grants, and it's a broad spectrum there because there's a broad spectrum of need. There's some smaller operations that only need 20,000 to do something. There's other operations who want to put in a full upcycling kitchen, and all of that is very expensive. So I think that it would vary greatly. It would be my recommendation that because this is a big grant, it would be a competitive grant. So we would, if the policy committee approved it today, even though we wouldn't be actually issuing it until April, we would start promoting it right away. So Tony, with all the food rescue organizations he works with, he would start letting them know, hey, this grant is coming, so that they can start thinking about it. We would have it out, for several months once it was officially announced. And then we would have a committee formed, hopefully somebody from public health on that committee to review those from that perspective. But several, Tony has some ideas of several people from outside that could review, because these would be really big grants. And we would have the funding that way. So they probably wouldn't even get the funding until the second half of the year.
From your slides, it looks like we don't get as much tonnage per dollar necessarily for these types of operations, but I think generally with the need in our community for access to food, I think things like that are super important and they're helpful to the residents we serve, and they also do a good thing by keeping waste out of the landfill, so I think that's good to support.
Extrinsic value, a
Yes.
lot more value to it.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing the math correctly, if you add up items 1, 2, and 4, that's just over $2 million. So that, I'm worrying about finances right now.
Yeah.
And so we have the capacity to, now that leaves issue 1 for 1 year, right? And then, because that's where the funding lies, and then 4 also for 1 year, depending on how it goes, right, and what comes back into the reserve. So we can afford to do those, knowing that 3, again, depending on what we get, might necessitate more revenue. Is that our understanding?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so and then let's just go ahead and move on to the July to September piece as well.
So we would continue to be working with through 1 and 4, but I have on here, which was something I discussed with several policy committee members, that the fee increase would be discussed at the August meeting after we have the RFIs, especially from number 3 and seeing also how much interest there was in number 1 as well.
Okay, so that's the full plan.
Can I clarify on number 3, the way it's written here is to keep it open just in case somebody came to the table.
Like after a
land
deadline?
On because it says expansion of existing composting capacity or building space.
Yeah.
Is that?
I read that as it's not the district building a new space, but if a partner came to the table.
Yeah,
then
just leaving it open-ended in that way. And
Okay.
So how does Sue's, she has kind of a checklist here, which I talked to her about yesterday, the day before. Is that something that we write into this, or is it something that we use when we accept, or do we?
I would think that it would probably be a new build, probably, in order to be able to get all those checked, all those boxes checked. I think if she had to check them all with this, she wouldn't get people to take it. I mean, I think it would I think it would tie her hands behind her back. But that is where my goal is.
Okay.
And so kind of what I want to see is once she gets the RFIs back, is do we have enough people interested in partnering to get to 45,000 tons? And if not, then we would be out looking for space. If the partner, if the idea that, I mean, I think that this is promising. I think we're gonna make progress. I think we're gonna get that. I mean, I think this is a great idea. I don't think we're gonna get there with this. But, so that's where
Okay.
I would.
That's where we move to plan B.
That's where we move to plan B.
I mean, some of this,
I'm gonna cheer that we're gonna get the 45,000 tons.
Yeah, I'm so pessimistic on this one. Well, and procedurally, we can approve of this action plan as this policy committee.
Yeah.
If when we talk about a fee increase, if we get to that point, that is a recommendation of this committee to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay.
Correct?
The policy committee initiates the process of a fee increase. So it would, how that would work is actually have it on the slide if you want to see it, but.
It's
the
similar to
policy-
the ratification process.
Right, so they initiate it, yes, but then it would go out for public comment for 60 days, and then at the next meeting, policy committee would we'd have a public hearing, you take that into consideration, decide if you want to change, and then you would make a recommendation that it goes out for ratification. That ratification goes out to all communities and the Board of County Commissioners. We have to, similar to the plan, have to have the city of Cincinnati and the Board of County Commissioners vote for it, and communities representing 60% of the population in order for that to be ratified. So you're correct that, but it is an official part of the process that's written into Ohio Revised. The committee initiates the increase.
Right, but we can do this today.
Yeah.
After we get the RFIs, then that's a different conversation about whether or not we need to. Okay. Are there other questions about the action plan in front of us then?
The other one was, you said that there were 10 applications for Investel. And that would be amazing. What would it cost to get all of them? You know, let's take advantage of everybody who has, let's find out what the cost is.
Yeah, and you said
To make
Xavier was
them
kind of furthest along in that, but what would it take to kind of bring everybody else up to speed, so to speak, as well?
Can I suggest if we're asking her to look at increasing them, maybe not all 10, as maybe it's good to say no to some of them. They may not all be good ideas. I wouldn't want to incentivize all 10.
Right, well, if it vetted correctly and became.
Well, and that was in attachment C, that was one of the things that I talked about was on-site composting is a great way to build capacity. It's very local, right? You're doing it right there on site. And for the correct institution, it does work. It just needs to be built into their operations, but the beauty of that is it's built into their operations and not someone else trying to make a business out of it.
And also like, they're not hauling anything, like although we might need to maybe work with them to get the digestate to somebody, one of these farms.
Well, it's not considered digestate, it's compost.
Or-
It's investable,
okay.
it's a compost, but they do need to cure the compost at the end.
Yeah,
But it's certainly usable compost.
Or if they don't need it all, or, make sure that it gets into this co-op. But yeah, especially since it eliminates the need for transportation, I think those are like the ones that we need to take advantage of.
So as far as timing then here, if we were to pass this action plan, then you would go out with number 3, you would go out with the RFI. Do you expect the results of that in a conversation of this committee at which meeting?
I would say May at the earliest. It depends on how quickly we're able to get out. Number 3, I have to talk to Hamilton County Purchasing and see if that's something that we can do independently or if we need to partner with them on it. But I would think we would have some idea by the May, but it may not be until the August.
Okay. Okay. So are there any other questions related to the action? All right. So I'm going to entertain a motion to approve of the action plan.
I'll motion to approve the action plan titled, Building Organics Processing Capacity in Hamilton County.
No second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We've got a plan. All the action steps, very good.
Thank you for putting this together. This clarified everything.
All right, very good. So we've also already kind of dealt with item B, but we can do more if we want. Solid waste fee increase. I feel like that is all related to the action plan we just passed. So is there anything else related to that? Anybody? Okay.
No, let's get some numbers and then we
Yeah,
can
that's
talk
right.
about it.
And when we do that, at whatever meeting it is that we come back with the results of the RFI, it would be very helpful to see that reserve balance, so that we can see historically what that looks like, how it grows, when it grows, so that we understand what we've got available by way of what's in the reserve right now
Yeah.
and what we don't have available.
Yeah.
So we would,
project it
I would
out.
like to see that at least 5 years out prior to this year. Okay.
Can I share one item? I've seen some misinformation about something called Senate Bill 147, which was passed by the legislature this year, and it was a bill to address in municipal solid waste landfills, construction and demolition debris that goes there. There's currently 2 tax rates. If you send C&D to a municipal solid waste landfill today, it's taxed at the C&D rate, which is lower.
Yeah.
And this bill was meant to close that loophole, and there is action from a solid waste district that would have to take to close that loophole. I've seen people reference that online and suggest that we should take action, just so nobody gets an idea here that we should. The bill at the last minute included a clause that limited the bill's applicability to only counties with population between 53,000 and 58,000. It was written.
Okay.
I know. I love the legislature.
I actively provided testimony on that bill to try and make it a tool for us here locally, and it was not, it was not for us, it was for Seneca County.
Seneca County. There you go. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got some informational items here. So Michelle, I'm gonna turn it to you for those.
Yes, so I did include as attachment D, the waste reduction innovation grants that were given since the August meeting. I'll just quickly go over those. We have Elevating Wellness, who is doing a very interesting project where they are working with youth to convert food scraps to freeze-dried pellets to feed livestock, and then they're also turning some of it, what they can't do, into compost. So this is the first time that we've done anything like this. Very interesting grant application. The OSU Extension Office received a grant to convert for some of their events, their disposable tableware into reusable and have everything as a reusables. So waste reduction grants. UC Health received grants just for recycling bins and the education surrounding that. Cincinnati Urban Promise received a grant for the construction materials and equipment to build a 3-day composting system. And then a Playful Wanderings, which is kind of like an educational farm, received grant funds to build an arid composting system specifically for their horse manure. So
Where are they located?
oh gosh,
I think in Cleves.
Oh, gotcha.
Like
And that's all with the grants.
Okay.
Sound good?
You know, it occurs to me that Deputy Peak is not on the agenda.
Well, it's there's a not take.
Oh, there you are. I saw you earlier. I'm like, well, why are you not on the agenda? So please come forward and give us an update. We so look forward to them.
So.
No, sir. Gotta come on.
So as we round out the year, the last quarter has been extremely slow.
Oh.
I don't know if it's well, I know partially why it is. Probably about half of what I get is from KCB, as far as investigative stuff. They had an employee go to greener pastures, and they're a little behind on providing some information on dumpings, hotspots. They have probably 50 to 60 cameras, which is where I get a lot of my work, over and above what comes in on the tip line and or over and above what comes in via emails on past victims that just reach out to me directly with things to follow up. In the past 4 months, albeit that we've had 3 tire transporters, which usually that happens under the darkness of night, but vigilant patrolmen within the city, within the county, grabbed 3 tire transporters. one of them, Mr. Waller, happened to be in Colerain Township, as you probably are aware. That was a big to-do because the township invaded the property. The gentleman was caught en route there. And
Nice.
he had truck tires, so he wasn't just playing in your little normal car tires. He was messing with the larger, truck tires, which are obviously more expensive to get rid of. So, maybe 2026 will lead to more work, more investigations, but the last couple months have been slow.
Okay.
So
Do you partner with the Mill Creek Alliance when after they do a cleanup, they've got lots of tires?
I do not, ma'am.
Okay.
I do not.
I may.
They haven't reached out.
I
to
may
me
increase your
at that
workload a little
point.
bit.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like the follow-up with the folks that do reach out to me that own private properties within the townships, within the cities, they've been dumped on. When I go and talk to them and explain, what we need, then they become ever vigilant. They put up their own cameras. And if they get something good, obviously I follow up on it. So, yeah, but no, I have not.
Okay.
They've not reached out to me.
I'll make that good. Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for your report.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to the 2026 Hamilton County Solid Waste Policy Committee meeting dates.
Yes, so those are in the manager's memo. Right now they're for February 18th, May 20th, August 19th, and November 18th. And they will be at our new central office in Bond Hill.
Well, how about that?
So this is the last meeting.
Oh my gosh, that's very
I
exciting.
hope I remember that in February.
That's right, big bowl, right, go to the
Yeah.
Pepsi building.
I'll direct here, it was like, oh yeah, for sure. Where do I
Yeah,
gotta go?
yeah, that's great. Okay, well, congratulations on that. Okay, and then, so our upcoming meeting then is February 18th at 3 o'clock at that building. Zoom will be available. All right.
Oh, yeah, I just have one other question, so, what Carrie Davis had brought up in her, is there a way we can kind of see the Rumpke's math, basically on what their capacity is for the landfill, just to kind of double check things? Because from what I was able to find online, they are reporting directly to the Ohio
In the number
EPA.
of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And so they report directly to the Ohio EPA and it's just self-reported. So if there's a way that we can see kind of like the data, like how did they come up with that, that would be, I think, helpful in general.
Yeah, we'll just follow up and maybe have that information for the next meeting.
Yeah, and that would be useful to have like kind of, at least on an annual basis, know where they're at with their life expectancy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Good promise? All right, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor say aye. Sorry. I just took that one for granted. Sorry. All right, thank you.
Great.
Usually say rising votes.
Mr. Target.
What is my?
4:30.